Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack. Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With practice and qualifying done from Homestead Miami, Brian and I are in to give you all of our thoughts as we look at the DraftKings slate, update the betting card, and give you boots on the ground takes as Brian is live from Homestead Miami Raceway. Brian Twining, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, man. I just got to witness another Justin Allgaier victory in the Xfinity Series, the third time I've seen him win a race in the last 5 that I've covered. So maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Although
basically you're Joey Logano, and every time you don't bet him and you're at the race, he wins.
Yes, and although it came at the expense of who was quite clearly the best car of the day, Kyle Larson, who was about to lap up to 5th place before that last caution. It was a little bit of get back for what happened to Justin in Phoenix and what we've seen numerous times before, where he was the best car only to have something happen and him not win. But yeah, outside of that, we got to see practice and qualifying today. Some surprising turn of events in qualifying, I would say, with a lot of things going on and where guys qualified and then still finding near the top of the board. We'll hit on that as we talk betting. But yeah, no, it's been a good weekend so far. The weather is fantastic. It was almost 80 degrees today, hot as shit for March. But, I'll take it.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder that the best car is probably going to win, and it's probably going to be the 5. But there is opportunity. There is room for shenanigans, and maybe we'll get a weird restart at the end that opens up everything. It was really weird for him to be so dominant all day in Xfinity, and on that final restart, just think, and he got trapped behind 3 cars, and he just couldn't do anything. So,
what happened there was Sam Mayer tried to give him like a bump, which here you can't really do that because the track is so abrasive and your tires are so sensitive to the track themselves. Any sort of he said it in his post-race interview, he got lifted off the ground essentially, which made him spin the tires, which caused him to lose a couple of spots, which allowed Allgaier to get to the outside. And I mean, Allgaier almost got spun by Sheldon Creed, who was going for it all, which, there was only 6 guys on the lead lap. So everybody was going to be team no lift, screw it, we're going for the win here. But yeah, Larson had the race won by a mile, essentially, 15-second lead there coming into the last 10 laps.
Yeah, and as I bring up the DraftKings pricing, you mentioned how much the track is just demolishing these tires, and they're showing the inside of the wheel well, and there's just shrapnel from all of the tire.
Yes.
Do you have concerns that becomes a bigger issue tomorrow? Are we going to get kind of like we had last week, where we're worrying about who actually has a full set of tires for the end of the race? Are we going to get some shenanigans with tires? Or do you think this is a good thing that might level out the field? And even if Kyle Larson's the best car all day, the tire wear might actually balance out kind of everything.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to see any tire failures, if that's what we're talking about, and stuff like that, or any issues of them not having enough tires. I do think, though, that with the tire wear being so severe here, and part of what makes this racetrack so awesome and the race is so incredible is the fact that we do get tire wear, which creates the ability to pass. It really benefits those who are able to preserve their tires. Looking at you, Denny. And it really separates the field of guys who maybe they have a short run car, they're set up for the short run, and they really fall off hard as the later into runs we get. And there's guys who are going to start slow, kind of like what Sheldon Creed did today in the Xfinity race. But as the runs got longer, his car became the second best over the run. So, it's probably the reason why everybody is hankering to get this race back as the championship race, because as good as Kyle Larson was, you knew that if we had a shorter spurt run, it was going to put many players into the possibility of winning.
Yeah, and I think that's something we'll want to hit on the rest of the show too, is there's some guys, while practice was a little wonky, there's some guys that are clearly set up for the long run and are going to be incredible if we get green flag and we can just run circles And then we have other guys that are, if we get a short spurt, they're going to have an opportunity. So we're going to have to figure out, and maybe we build lineups like that. Hey, if this is a long, 50 lap run and we put fresh tires on, and these are the guys that could bubble up to the top, maybe we want to build a lineup that way. And then maybe we get a late race restart where we can maybe target some guys who we expect to do really well on fresh tires, couple laps, just go for it all. So I think we'll run through that. So Kyle Larson, 11K, clearly the favorite for the race, clearly the most expensive guy on DraftKings, but for good reason. Behind him, Tyler Reddick starting 20th, Byron starting 5th, Chris Bell starting 16th, Ryan Blaney starting 6th. The who's who, the elite guys, the guys that are all at the top of the betting board, the guys that, if we're talking with two to go, are in that final three conversation. I don't think anyone will be shocked. Obviously, we expect Larson to be good. Who else do you expect to be good?
Well, he's already got built-in track position, and he's a guy he's already won here before. William Byron starting 5th. With that built-in track position, the practice that we saw out of him is more than enough for me to get excited about his, possibilities here on Sunday. He may be the guy who jumps to the lead and leads the majority of the first stage, and with Larson and Reddick catching up to him as the long run goes, because in Reddick's situation, he got the wall during his qualifying lap, obviously starting much further back than he should be. And Larson, too, because he didn't qualify as further down the board as you would have seen in past situations here with this being a playoff race, we're getting a bit of a discount on him. So you're really going to have to nitpick on putting probably at least two of these guys in a lineup and then going with some super cheap options because, as you said, these are the who's who of performers here at Homestead.
Yeah, I think Byron Blaney is a really compelling discussion. I think, obviously, if you want to do the Byron and then you go Larson Hendrick thing, if you want to do Blaney and then either Reddick or Bell, I think that makes sense. But Bell, Reddick, and Larson are all kind of in that mid-pack. They have plenty of opportunity to go forward. We expect them to be there at the end. Is it as simple as going by price tag and just going Larson's the best, then Reddick, then Bell? If you're looking at it from a DraftKings perspective, or do you think one of either Bell or Reddick could be the name you need when we're talking, or maybe it's both of them and you look for a dominator? As we scroll down, we'll talk Alex Bowman, we'll talk Chase Briscoe, who's all of a sudden looking good. I guess when you're thinking about the top of the board, is it really just one of Byron or Blaney and then one of the mid-pack guys, or do you kind of want to mix it up and kind of build a couple different lineups different ways?
Yeah, no, I actually really like that strategy. And just being honest, this is Kyle Larson's race to lose, just like it's been in the Truck Series, just like it was today in Xfinity.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that he is probably at least the second better, I think, with all things equal, compared to the field here. If you go on a long run, he just has such an ability to basically get on the wall. He's the less than an inch gap of his right rear fender touching the wall here. And as good as Reddick is, I don't even think Reddick comes close to what Larson's able to do. And so I don't think you can begin the conversation without putting him into most of your lineups.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about where Byron's ownership ends up falling. Like, he's super safe and reliable, and we expect him to be in the top 5 conversation almost assuredly. But Blaney is dominant here, and we know how good he can be. He almost won this race in the fall. Obviously, we're running it in the spring, so it's a little bit different. But obviously, in terms of weather, it'll be similar on race day. Obviously, they didn't have the summer kind of cooking it to make it a little different, but should be from all expectations from the drivers should run similar. But I do wonder if Byron's goes a little, his roster ownership is a little lower than kind of we expect, because either people go, well, I can get Blaney for $500 less, and he's better, and he's one spot back, or I can do like Larson Reddick, Larson Bell, Reddick Bell, and then just drop down. So I wonder if he kind of is the guy that gets squeezed a little bit here, but obviously they're all going to be incredible. So we'll see kind of how ownership shakes out.
As As you said real quick, though, I don't think there's a question. William Byron is the safest option
Yeah.
of those guys. So
if you're building in cash, I think he's a great play, but Larson obviously has a lot more ups and then a lot more downs. Let's jump into 9K. Denny Hamlin 23rd, Chase Elliott 18, Logano starting 12th, the Watermelon Man starting 25th. A lot of like backmarker type options. Obviously, Denny Hamlin, another guy who we expect to be strong. Maybe not the elite option, but kind of in that second tier, starting 23rd. Obviously, tons of room to move forward. JGR seems in a much better spot this week. They practice better. Chase Briscoe somehow qualified in the top 5. Even Ty Gibbs doesn't look like a tractor trying to go on a racetrack. So are you optimistic that Denny can be stronger? And then kind of the Elliott, Logano, Chastain group, is there anyone in there that you're compelled, or is that just an easy cross those 4 guys off, jump to the next range?
yeah, I think Logano's starting a little bit too far forward in the field to get excited about because this isn't a track that he's necessarily been great at. Now, how much of that is the fact that he's either been eliminated or already locked in to the championship round the past few times we've come here? I don't really know. But, with him starting 12th and having the option of Denny, who we know at tracks where tires matter, he's amongst the elite. And it doesn't really matter what happens in practice or qualifying. He's going to go out there and nurse those things for all they've got. And at the end of runs, he's going to be amongst the fastest. So I don't think you can skip over Denny by any means. And then Chase Elliott, I have a decent sized play of Chastain over Elliott, which I'm probably regretting a little bit right now because in practice, Chase Elliott was fast. Now, he wasn't fast in lap times. His fall off was ridiculously minimal. He had, I think, quite possibly the best fall off numbers of anybody in the practice sessions of Group A or Group B. Now, he started off really slow. So obviously in a short run, he's probably going to lose positions. But if we do get these long extended green flag runs like you alluded to open the show, he's a guy who's probably going to move through the field rather easily and make all that track position and more up.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be interesting race to maybe live bet. And if you, especially with Hamlin, like maybe he gets kind of stuck in traffic for a little while, but what he can do and he can find a way to stay out and manage those tires. Even Logano, obviously, like you mentioned, like not traditionally amazing here, but it is during the playoffs where he's either advanced and he's not worried about it, or he's just like kind of whatever.
The only thing I will say about Joey is like this is not a track where you can strategize your way into a finish. Like you can't take 2 tires, you can't short pit things, you can't do that because 2 laps on your tires matters multiple tenths. It's not like you can, I mean, to Reddick it didn't obviously last year, but he's a little bit different story at this track, being able to run the high line like that. And because Logano is not a guy who's going to go up top and be an inch from the wall.
No. Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski. That is the 8K range. Bowman puts it on the pole. Obviously, the Hendrick guys look good. We expect Larson to be good. You talked about Chase. Byron's obviously Byron. Chase Briscoe starting top 5, I think, from a DFS perspective, is probably an easy cross off. Bubba looked fast. Bubba had the fastest first lap. Obviously, tire fall off is major, but he seemed to figure some stuff out. I think having Tyler Reddick as your teammate certainly helps. Are you optimistic that Bubba can, and maybe this is a better question for when we talk betting, but flirt with that kind of top 5-ish conversation, or is he a guy that's destined to kind of sink a little bit and maybe finishes in that like 12 to 17 range?
Yeah, no, I think Wallace is somebody to consider at the betting markets for a top 10, depending on the number you can still get, but he's not somebody I'm really looking at in DFS just simply based on fall off numbers. And yes, he's been really good at these high tire wear tracks, but really good for the 23 car versus really good against the top tier guys is way different. Really good for Bubba is finishing 7th through 10th, or, maybe getting like a 5th. And if that's the case, you're getting only 4 placement positions and maybe a lap or 2 led based on him maybe pitting like 2 laps after the leaders, which if you're running in that position, you can't go 3-4 more laps after they pit because you're going to be losing so much time to them when they come back out on the freshies. And so I just don't see him as somebody that is really worth it in DFS world, where you're in a range as a guy like even Brad Keselowski, as you called Ty Gibbs last week, driving a tractor. He had a tractor on the short run, but as the long run went along, the 6 kind of popped a little bit, So, and this is also a track where he's been good traditionally. Again, going back to the same conversation about Logano, he's usually been eliminated from the playoffs at this stage the last few years in the Gen 7 era. So how much of his performances are based on them already looking forward to the next season versus the car not being good? It's difficult to kind of factor that in.
Yeah, and we don't traditionally expect RFK to perform well in qualifying, but Buescher did put it 11th. Brad's going to be very popular, I feel, starting 32nd. I think people are going to be really comfortable with him moving forward. Maybe is he a top 10 candidate for you, or do you think he's more in that kind of 15 to 20? And either way, he's fine for where he's priced, but if he has top 10, maybe better upside, he kind of becomes somebody that you have to play if that's within his range of outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, probably definitely top 15. I would say is kind of the more likely range of outcomes, but can you get a top 10? Sure. I mean, again, like I said, going back to his Penske days, he was really good here.
Yeah. Interesting. He was somebody I wasn't so sure about, but I think I'm a little more optimistic in kind of going there. Let's talk the rest of the 7Ks, where we have a wide variety of options. So I'll give you all the names, and then you give me who stands out to you as your favorite option. So Buescher 11th, Cindric starting 8th, Barry starting 2nd, Daniel Suarez starting 33rd. Our Trackhouse just, I don't know what's going on there.
Woof.
Carson Hocevar, Tyrone Gibbs, Ryan Preece, and AJ Allmendinger. Who stands out to you as somebody that you're excited to play, clamoring to play, think could be a sneaky play, all that good stuff?
I mean, mi amigo again, starting 33rd. He's going to get placement points. I don't think he's going to finish 33rd. Top 20, sure. I think that's a great play. Now, the guys below him, I think, are another conversation for later in the show when we talk about the betting board, because our buddy Tyrone, he may have started this season looking like an absolute dumpster.
Yeah.
This car, Papa clearly decided, look, we got to give this kid something to work with here. And in practice, quite possibly the best car during his group.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. Yeah. His outright price is compelling. I don't know if I'll end up getting there, but
well, so you know how I take my little notes.
Tell me he was the sporty car of the day, and I will absolutely add him to the outright card.
So I didn't even add sporty. All I did was write Ty Gibbs !
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, Preece starting 31st, I think makes sense. I think Suarez obviously makes sense. I'm a little worried about Trackhouse, but given where him and Ross are both starting, they're so comfy. We were in on Ross prior to practice and qualifying, so do we want to completely get away from that?
The fall off wasn't great on the one, so like I alluded to, I'm a little worried about my Chastain over Elliott plus money, which could be a bad bet that cashes. So who knows? Yeah,
or it could be a good bet that goes up in flames. We haven't decided. The Dinger showed up just like we expected to, but he's kind of a top 10 guy. So
exactly.
I'm really interested.
Yeah.
Hocevar, You're
he
the
was
host of
good
our
in practice,
moment.
but I don't know. From what I saw in practice, if you were to ask me which one between him and Gibbs had the more upside this week,
Yeah.
it's going to be the 54.
Wow. Team 54 is absolutely thriving right now.
Oh my god.
Let's talk 6K. Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse, Noah Gragson showing up again.
Yep.
Justin Haley, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon.
Oh yeah, you're just going to skim over 83, huh?
I mean, a little foreshadowing into our Substack article, which AOPpodcast.substack.com, little AOP podcast.substack.com, our completely free newsletter shows up in your email inbox every race day. If you're not subscribed, go check it out right now. 83 will be one of my write-ups, and I have a feeling he'll be one of yours too.
We'll see.
Gragson was impressive. Of the Fords was really, really good. The Fords obviously had that late run, but Gragson was fast. Like, is there a world where you start with like 2 or maybe even 3 of like Bell, Reddick, Larson, and then go down to Gragson and just hope that he can dominate early and then the other guys figured out late?
Yeah, like if you're max entering a contest, I think you have to start a lineup with Gragson as your early dominator because he was fast in practice. And this is a track that he has tremendous amount of success in Xfinity Series. And, now that he's in a set ride, they're not dealing with the bull crap that was happening at SHR last year. Like, how much more confidence is he going to have entering this race when it's also not a time of the year where he already has one foot out the door or the season is already completely over because they're not in the playoffs and they haven't been in the playoffs for such a long time. So yeah, I think starting a lineup with Gragson as your early dominator and then putting in 2 of the guys starting further back, like a Larson and Christopher Bell. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And when you're playing in tournaments, especially with like single entry, 3 max, that kind of stuff, making that click and kind of going elsewhere and kind of even if you load up on chalk going forward, you're setting yourself so different that's the only really difference you need. So I'm clicking that, and that will be the first click of our first lineup. Let's talk the rest of the field. Zane Smith, John Hunter, Todd Gilliland, Riley Herbst, Cole Custer, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, JJ Yaley. If you're scraping, you're at the bottom of the barrel, you got your little headlamp on and you're looking for something. What's the click?
Man. Cole Custer? Honestly, I want to avoid this range at all costs.
Yeah. But that makes me really want to get down there. Like, I think Riley is interesting. He's probably a little too far forward for what.
Exactly my point.
Yeah. I think Cole Custer's fine. I think Ty Dillon's okay. Gillen's okay. Be interested.
I mean, you're not playing Nemechek starting 7th, that's for sure.
No, damn not. Damn sure ain't doing that. Ain't doing John Hunter. Not doing Yaley. Maybe Cody Ware. That feels unnecessary.
He pit like a million times during practice, so they clearly are not ready.
No, I think Herbst, Custer, Dillon are the 3 clicks. Maybe Gilliland. Okay, well, let's build lineups and see how gross we have to get.
Kyle Larson. Okay. Do it.
Kyle Larson.
Let's just put Reddick in there too.
Sure.
Let's see if we can build this.
Yeah, because I was thinking him or Byron, so I think that's a good way to start. Because if we want to assume Gragson, I think nobody assumes Gragson's going to be a dominator, but maybe he can be a stage 1 dominator, flirt around with stage 2, and maybe finish in that top 10 and be just fine.
All right, since we're building this, you better put 83 in there. Starting 30 is 6,300.
Don't tease me with a good time, Brian Twining. Don't tease me. Mr. Keselowski, welcome to the squad.
Oh my gosh, we're building like a super speedway.
I know. Should we just
what do we got left? We got 70.
Ryan Preset? I think Ryan. I mean, I guess we could do Ricky Stenhouse, but that feels wrong. Yeah, I think
so here it would be between Ryan Preece and Justin Haley. I feel like Justin Haley had a much better practice, but you're giving up 10 spots.
Yeah. Can Justin Haley finish top 10?
Let's do Ryan Preece. I feel much better about Ryan Preece finishing 20th than I do about Justin Haley finishing 10th.
Well, and I think this lineup makes more sense, right? Because we have a few Fords. We expect the Fords to figure it out on the long run. So if we're going to go with the Gregson, we're going to expect stage 1 to run long. He leads laps. He's impressive early. And the Fords come along for the ride. And then at the end, it's Larson and Reddick battling it out for a victory.
Yep.
That was far too easy. Don't love that, but that's okay.
Right. I'll let you tee off the second one, but I have an idea where I want to go here.
Then throw it on the table and let me follow your lead.
All right, we got to go Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
Apparently, Kyle is not too excited about that.
Makes me a little queasy, but I will. No, I think he's a great play.
I mean, and people will see why when we jump over and look at the post qualifying odds. You'll see.
Watermelon man.
Uh-oh. Now I'm scared. All right, screw it. Let's do the Trackhouse tandem.
I already clicked it. That's done.
I didn't even see. Oh my gosh, I was
yeah,
my confidence.
Yeah, no, because if we're gonna go in on Trackhouse figuring it out, we gotta go Suarez too.
Yeah. All right. So in this situation now, we're kind of squeezing. We need to get one of the guys, Larson or Bell, I believe, or even we could do Denny in this spot.
Yeah.
Save a little salary.
What's Denny? Let me just. Oh yeah, no, that doesn't work. I was gonna say, I was gonna see if we could get like super like Stars and Scrubsy, but I don't think that worked.
Go ahead and put Ty Dillon in there and see what we can.
Gets us to 84. Yeah.
Keselowski again.
So my other thought.
So honestly, in this situation, we don't have to do Denny because you can go up another $400 and put Dillon in.
What if we do this Dillon and this Dillon?
Oh my gosh.
Ryan Preece, Dinger, McDowell, Stenhouse.
I think this is tough for Haley to take a shot.
Okay, so if we do that, then we can go 6K. So this gets us Blaney and Larson, which is amazing. This gets us Chastain and Suarez, double Trackhouse. We got Haley.
Look, I don't hate the Ty Dillon call because for me at the bottom here, it's either Custer or Dillon. I don't really care where Gilliland or Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, I was gonna see if it opened up something we liked better, but I think we just.
Yeah, and remember, we don't have to use all the salary.
No. No. The other option is, so do you like Justin Haley close enough to Austin Dillon where it's you're fine clicking both? Because they're only $100 difference, but Austin Dillon's 9 more spots back, and we know how good he is. We know he's Austin Dillon, and we know how dumb his races can get. But
all right. Also part of my notes here, part of the notables that I had during Group A, 23, 7, Justin Haley, 12, 4, 54, and 3.
Okay.
So I like both of them. I think both of them are going to have solid days, and I think you want to differentiate because if you get too exposed to a guy like 83, who, I mean, running back with the squirrels to begin a race is never good.
My other question to you then is, do you have interest punting the Watermelon Man since we have 800 going?
Yeah, much better.
2 spots forward. and go with Denny, who we think can be really, really good here.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Chastain, but if you were to tell me that
He's
Denny Hamlin was up front, I'd be less surprised than Chastain.
Yeah. You could tell me that Ross is running in the 20s all day and Trackhouse just can't figure it out. And maybe that means we should take Suarez out too, but given where he's starting, he feels just like such a good click. All right, Brian, the field is open. I'm asking you your favorite click on DraftKings.com. Price doesn't matter. Go all the way up and go all the way down. You can go in the middle somewhere. Oh, it can be chalky. It can be not chalky. The click is
It's got to be Kyle Larson.
Okay.
Price and where he's starting, and
do we trust Alex Bowman? That's my other question to you.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought Bowman up because during his post qualifying presser after claiming the pole, very surprisingly, which required a large cloud to cover the sun that was heating the track up, for what it's worth. He admitted that in practice they had tremendous short run speed, but compared to his teammates and compared to a lot of other guys, they got a lot of work to do for the long run. So with a guy like Bowman, you run the risk that, he leads a good amount of laps early. But once we start to get those, 25, 30, 35 lap runs, those positions are going to start getting taken rather quickly. And if he's not able to make that up on pit road with him having the number one pit stall and he loses track position, he's probably not going to get it back.
Do you have any, I guess my question is, do you have any interest in building a short run, go for broke lineup with a Bowman? Or do you think it's not really worth it? But maybe we could start with a Byron, Larson, maybe even Chase Elliott if you want to get real wild.
So I would rather pay up and play Byron just based on how good he's been here in the past.
Yeah.
Bowman hasn't necessarily been the greatest in Homestead.
No.
Now again, when has he been a part of the playoffs the last times that we've come here?
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of weigh that factor in, but I think that's definitely something you have to consider when looking at these guys' past performances.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely feels like a candidate who sings like a rock and
yeah, because Byron was great in practice. He was fast, he had great short run speed. Yeah. He's got a legit chance to win here.
Okay. Now my other question is, can we get super gross and get another elite guy name up the top, maybe two?
Let's
or do we want to balance it out? All right. Well, let's say we like
Hi, Dylan.
Ty and Austin.
Ugh.
And Buster. That's too aggressive.
I mean, I think you got to play Reddick.
Well, that's what I'm trying to like get real stars and scrubsy, but like we like both Dylans.
I mean, maybe we take a flyer on Eric Jones, who has been much better to begin this year.
Yeah, he looked good in practice, but didn't qualify well. So is that like something you're optimistic about kind of figuring out, or do you think?
Well, I think for him, the old tried and true idea of when you go out for qualifying matters actually mattered, as opposed to Ryan Blaney, who somehow freaking qualified where he did after going out 10th amongst the 30 cars, which is ridiculous. I mean, because I don't really have any interest in like Gilly Gang or Herbst or I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen, this is like his first Cup Series race here. I don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah. But was he good at Darlington?
Yeah, but I feel like that's different too, because you don't have to like you can. The wall there is a little bit different. Here, you're like an inch off the wall. There, you get into
If you're good and you're running really well, you're on that wall.
And I don't think that's part of the repertoire over in supercars. So,
are we really gonna go with Eric Jones? I guess that's the click, huh?
I mean, we could do Custard.
No.
All right, Jones, it is. Just do it. Just click it, and submit. And exactly, as we always say, sometimes the grossest ones are the ones that hit.
We also have 3 lineups that prominently feature Kyle Larson. So this is
either he's the best car. There's no question.
Awful. There's no in between. So we'll build that up. All right. Well, let's switch over and look at outright odds because, as you mentioned, he is the best car and is priced accordingly. So FanDuel, MGM, Caesars, Borgata, and Rivers all have odds. I have Caesars and FanDuel set up. Obviously, we'll feature all of our best bets. Brian and I will be talking top 10s, maybe some matchups, maybe some groups as we get into it. I do want to, before we jump too far into this week, give the people a little insight into where we're at right now because our card is, interestingly enough, pretty aggressive for this early. So I bet Chastain at 25. I hate that. I bet Alex Bowman at 30.
That's pretty good now.
That feels good. Given our conversation about how he likes his car on the long run and all that stuff.
Short run.
Well, yeah, no, I guess how he feels about his car on the long run and has concerns about the work they're going to have to do. I don't love hearing that, but I also grabbed both of those guys at long prices, hoping to hit one, and I got one, and I barely put anything on either of them, so we'll see. Dinger over Hocevar at DraftKings at plus money. Dinger over Cindric, Priest, and Gibbs. Gibbs is going to probably win that group now and shove it in my face.
I was just going to say, dude, the fact that I played it both because I went with both Dinger and Priest with the 2 guys that I thought for sure would be the better cars, that's definitely going to get thrown in my face.
I got to put 83 there so instead of just Dillon, because then with Ty Dillon, obviously I'm not betting Ty Dillon, but just for clarity's sake, 83 stacks over SVG, Haley, and Zane. It really feels like 83 versus Haley, and I'm getting plus 225 in that matchup. So I'm happy to have it on the card. Brian has Chastain over Elliott at plus 105. Dinger top 10 at plus 275. Kenny Wallace over Kurt Busch. Bubba Wallace over Kyle Busch. Dinger over Cindric, Priest, and Gibbs. Priest over Cindric, Dinger, and Gibbs. As you can see from Brian's little thing here, if you see a group with 4 guys and you can get 2 of them at like 4-1 and you think both of them have a really good chance, especially if this is like before practice and qualifying at becoming the favorite or near the favorite, or you think there's a really good chance one of those 2 guys wins and I make money either way, it's an interesting way to play it. I don't know that I would do it if it's like one guy's 150 and one guy's 175 and then you're fading 2 other guys. But it is an interesting way to play it, and obviously it limits your potential ceiling, but it also gives you a little more safety in a group where if you feel really comfortable with 2 of the 4 names and the prices make sense, you could get in some action. So just wanted to throw those up so you can see where we were at as we talk. We kind of talk through this. So I'll also pull up the sim with the fair market value. So as we run through things, we can talk about that too. Thanks to our friends over at Win the Race. Make sure you jump over there. It's a great time to get in. You can jump in the Discord. You get all the DFS projections. You get their fair market tools. You can do head-to-heads. You can do your own groups. You can do your own matchups. You can do outrights, top threes, top tens. You can do winning manufacturer, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a really good, not necessarily just like blindly bet. I mean, if you want to do that, that's your call too. But if you're like, oh, I love this bet, let me go double check it. Let me look at some stuff.
Yeah.
And before just automatically firing, it's a nice like, oh yeah, no, the sim likes it, I like it, the numbers like it, fire. Or oh, the sim hates it. Oh, maybe there is something there. Maybe okay, and then I'm gonna back off because we don't have to bet everything. So Kyle Larson is your huge favorite. 350, 325. Blaney 550, 5. Looked amazing. Had the long run. Qualified early and was still able to qualify in a great position. Reddick as long as 7. Byron as long as 850. I guess it really, we talk a lot between like before the show and as we get ready to prep, but it really feels like your winner comes out of probably these top 4 names and probably these top 2 names. But given where the odds currently sit, is there any value or numbers where you're like, I think it's worth taking a little shot there, even if obviously if you have practice and qualifying numbers, you may be a little gun shy on some other names. But if you're stepping to the plate right now and you have nothing in your card in terms of outrights, like I do, I mean outside of a couple names, but do you take a shot on any of those guys, or are you like just one stand out above the rest for you?
I think the only guy that you can even entertain at current price has got to be William Byron, just based on qualifying, practice, past performances here. He's the most solid in terms of just being able to run his own race and be there at the end at Homestead. So, I mean, I expect him to be running inside the top 5, top 4, pretty much the majority of the day and not get into situations where he's going to wreck, because he's also not amongst the 2 guys of Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, who are running so close to the wall that all it takes is one misstep and boom, their right rear toe link is damaged. So, if you don't have any exposure, I feel like he's the safest one. That being said, with the books opening these lines so short to begin this season, I found the best value is coming during the race, like live. I mean, if Kyle Larson suffers a pit road penalty or something and he's got to start at the rear of the field, you bet your ass that he's going to float, $1 or $2. Then that's when you fire, because he's going to be able to make up the track position. He did it last year. He had 2 issues last year. He spun, he got into the wall, and he was still near the front, coming towards the end. Not like at the end, but towards the end when he wrecked while trying to make a move for the win. So, I mean, like, I don't think you can get involved now, because it's almost inevitable that something is going to happen, as we saw in trucks, where, I mean, he spun himself out and then he winds up driving through the field, probably for fun, to win the race. Yeah. And then tonight, like, he was going to win the race, but then a caution came out with 10 laps to go. Like, you never know what's going to happen at a track that has such severe tire wear. So I have zero interest getting in on somebody at 3 or 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Byron's a fun bet if you were like, I'm going to watch the race. I'm not going to be too stressed about it, but it would be fun to have a ticket live at the end where if they won, I'd be really excited. I think Byron is that name. I think there's a real shot that he's basically a top 5 car all day. He's right there at the end. Obviously, it's NASCAR. Wheels fall off. Cars end up upside down. Crazy shit happens all the time. But if you told me we're 5 to go and William Byron's in the top 3 and has a legit chance to win the race, yeah, makes total sense. He's comfortable. So if you want to put $20 on it, and then maybe during, like Brian said, during the race, watch, oh, Kyle Larson just had a speeding penalty and he has to shuffle to the back.
Yep.
Now I can get Larson at 5 or 6. Okay, add another $20 there. Ryan Blaney had some issue getting worked on. Shows the long run speed, shows that he can get through the field as it matters most. Maybe you grab him at 7 or 8.
The one thing I will say is books opening up Larson as such a favorite over Ryan Blaney, I think is a mistake. I was fully expecting Blaney to open up at 4 as the favorite, with Larson probably tied with him, or maybe even 4.5, just based on qualifying and the fact that Ryan Blaney's practice, yeah, according to NASCAR's side of lap averages, he wasn't atop the board. But, I've mentioned this over the last few weeks. When you dive deeper into the numbers and you look at the fall off numbers, Ryan Blaney, as we started to get longer into the run, is probably going to wind up being the best car again. He just has this knack for being able to run a line that doesn't eat the tires and maintain speed from start to finish.
Yeah, it was really interesting too because he was even mentioning at the end of the race that or end of qualifying and practice, oh, you don't have like all the scuff marks on the side like every other driver had. And he's like, yeah, I wanted to keep my car chief really happy, and we were able to test some stuff and got what we needed. So, really interesting to see.
Well, and that's also something that should make people more optimistic about Blaney is the fact that he doesn't need to go up onto that high line to make speed here.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe shop for opportunities because maybe you can get Blaney in a matchup against Larson and just hope Larson does something stupid and ends up on the side of the road and cashing that. But it is a little dangerous. So
Let me add one thing on that. As a guy who's sitting on Kyle Larson minus 110 pretty heavily against Blaney, there might be a buyback option for me to get a little ARB opportunity on this. And I have to strongly consider it because I don't really like doing that. But based on what I saw, this is definitely going to be a battle all day. And so it's a lot closer than even Larson being minus 110. It should probably be even both ways
it's
in my
a lot more fun to do it when you get a 175 plus
Oh, yeah.
175 in a head to head and then come back because it's the other way and it's like plus 135 on the other guy. You feel much better about that. But yeah, when it's close, and it depends on what your other card looks like, right? Like if you have a lot of solid bets you feel really good about and you don't mind the little bit of risk, then don't come back with it. But if you're like, these two guys are going to be right there, it's a sketchy bet. I put a lot on it. Like I don't want to, it's all mental gymnastics.
Perfect example. I'll just call it out right now. Caesars. Ryan Blaney is currently plus 125 as of recording at 9:05 p.m. Eastern versus Kyle Larson. That should not be priced that way based on what we saw today, based on past performances here. I think a lot of that has to do with what Larson has done on Friday and now Saturday in being the best truck, well, second best truck on Friday, actually. Corey Heim, it was Heim time on Friday. But clearly the best car here at Xfinity on Saturday. And so I think the books are over adjusting based on that, when in reality, they're a lot closer 1A, 1B from the last couple of years here at Homestead.
Yeah. And it feels like a bet that might find its way onto my card when we're cleaning up the card later. So if that's being said, we obviously love the elite guys. We think they're probably the winner. Do you have any interest in Hamlin, Bell, Bowman? Like that Bowman, I'm happy to have at 30 instead of where it's like 15, 16 now on market. Logano, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace. Like, can you make a conversation? Can you make an argument for somebody kind of in that like 12 to 25, 30 range before we get into more of the lottery ticket shoot for the moon kind of guys?
Yeah, he's near the bottom right there. And I actually already bet this. I've been chatting with one of the most prominent bettors in the space about this number quite frequently over the last couple hours. That's going to be Ty Gibbs. It's freaking disgusting. He's been terrible. But if this thing plays out the way that it's anything similar to what we saw in practice and it's based on long run speed, Ty Gibbs is going to be a factor up near the front. Now, can he get it done? I'm not counting on it based on what we've seen to begin the year and just based on JGR's lack of speed last week at a 1.5 in Las Vegas. But, a couple of drivers were asked today at the media center about that. And they all kind of admitted Homestead's a 1.5, but the tire fall off makes it drastically different from other 1.5 type tracks. So, maybe they found something. Maybe Pawpaw gave Tyrone, as we like to call him, a machine this week, and he is going to be a contender up front. And at 40, after that practice, yes, please.
If I were to say watch a live stream, maybe on race day, Do you think there may be a wager that involves potentially an outcome potentially being something you can maybe sit on? Do you think that's in the cards for tomorrow?
Possibly. I mean, there are a few guys that opened up pretty long that were really
Yeah.
good cars in practice. I will say, I'll just call them out right now. So Briscoe was pretty strong. I can't get there just based on what we've seen at the 25 number, way too short. Graxon, really good in practice, but 30, 33, 35 even. Nah. And yeah, I'm being picky at that 40 number, but I mean, that's an extra $5.
Why would you bet Briscoe at even 28 when you can get his teammate and a guy that looked just as good, if not better, at 40?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's all about price. It's a lot of times like obviously you want to bet the fastest cars, but there are certain prices where you're like, oh, well, yeah, I'm gonna bite on that for a little bit just because if this guy's car does live up to the expectations, that number is wrong, essentially.
Yeah. Let's see. Where's
I will say outside of those guys though, I'm not jumping on much.
Yeah, so I've added Tyrone to the card. I have Tyrone, Bowman, and Chastain, three guys who will definitely not win the race, but at least they got good numbers, and that CLV account is looking really, really nice this time of year. 66 on Dinger.
I don't know. He's going to be strong, but I mean, do we really think Dinger can win?
No.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I have a much longer number pre-practice, so I probably not the best person to ask. Like, I wouldn't bet that.
What do you think the potential upside is for AJ Allmendinger? Is it top 5?
I think definitely a top 5. Yeah, this is probably his best track. He's come here in a non-full-time ride and finished top 10. I think the last 2 times he's raced here.
My other thought, and this is kind of going back to the Tyrone number, if you're dead set on it being one of Blaney or Larson almost assuredly winning this race,
you're going top Toyota, aren't you? I had it. Okay, so the one worry I have there is not only does that mean he's beating Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell, but he's also beating Tyler Reddick, who is considered the second or third best driver at this track. And if that's the case, I'm going to have to get a 30-1 on that. And I don't think that number is going to be available.
Just pulling
now,
up.
if that is available.
Yeah. Let's see. Top Toyota.
He's 10-1 on Caesars. That's a no. It's no. You're getting paid out 4 times more by betting him to win.
Yeah, no. There's no world where I'm betting 10-1. I want 20-1, 25-1. At least give me half of what his outright price is.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when the top of the Toyota camp is very good here.
Yeah. Anyone else? 83 stacks, 300-1.
Hell no. Nope. No. I think 83 placements might be interesting if you could find the correct prices.
Yeah.
Oh. Just found it. Oh, this is going to be a bad weekend.
4-1 to top 5, or 40-1 to win. Well, whoa! I'm gonna need some of that for show.
And shouts to FanDuel for opening up their placements immediately after practice and
not only
qualifying.
giving us the long numbers, but giving us 12-1 on 83 stacks. I'm going to have more on 83 on this race than I think I've ever bet Austin Dillon on any NASCAR race ever. So there's no way that goes well.
Of course not.
But you're telling me I can get 12-1? Yeah, let's ride. Dinger 270.
Yeah, I'm playing that too, by the way. Again. So I'm doubling down on Dinger to top 10 this week, which means he's probably just like we saw last year at Watkins Glen, I think it was, where he wrecked on the first lap.
They're definitely him and Austin Dillon are going to get into each other at some point and ruin both their days.
Oh, yeah.
750 on Justin Haley.
I'd much rather play Dillon at 12.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a decent play, but
yeah, I think he's the one that makes the most sense. Like the fact that he's the same as like Zane and John Hunter, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a good conversation. We obviously ran through everything. Anything else, Brian? Obviously, we'll have our full betting card, our grid rivals picks, our favorite plays on DraftKings, all of that good stuff on the Substack article, which once again is completely free. Make sure you get in there, aoppodcast.substack.com. Once again, aoppodcast.substack.com. Before we get out of here, Brian, one last thing. We talked about it at the end of the first show we did this week, and I'm going to circle back, and I'm going to see if you still are on the same page. Brian Twining, we talked on Tuesday. You said Mr. Kyle Larson would end up in victory lane. We are now Saturday night. Kyle Larson winning Straight Talk Wireless 400.
Well, I think everybody would know where my heart would be going as a Tyler Reddick stan and somebody who always cheers for Ryan Blaney. But yeah, I think Kyle Larson is still going to get it done tomorrow or today when you're watching this. He's just too good here. And without trying to prognosticate when the caution is coming or if there's going to be a rando caution, I just think he's the class of the field at this particular track.
Okay. I said 45. I'm going to switch to 12. Ryan Blaney's winning.
Hey, it'd be the fifth or sixth consecutive B name to win. I mean, it's only
it's
not
going to be before
we get out of here. Yeah, two drivers that I noticed were asked about that, who they thought the next B driver to win would be, and they both clearly said like Ryan Blaney is the best B guy here.
What about Tyrone Bibbs? Can he be the next B?
All right, we're renaming Tyrone Bibbs. All right,
everyone, Byron Bibbs. All right, Brian, this is good to catch up, good to chat. As I mentioned, make sure you are subscribed. All the links will be in the description. Let us know who your favorite pick to win the race is, as well as your favorite play on DraftKings. We're always interested both in good bets, in good DraftKings thoughts. Make sure you head over to the Substack, leave comments there.
Make sure you check out our grid rival selections because this week I can actually do them because I'm not in Vegas.
Yes, we will have a few grid rivals plays. All of that will be posted. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the Straight Talk 400. Let's cash some tickets. Let's go AD3 stacks. Let's go AJ Allmendinger. And we will talk to you next week.